Welcome to Till All Are Done, a brand new series where I plan to cover at least one Transformers figure from my collection for every character in the franchise. That is a lot of characters to collect and then make these videos, so I'll need to narrow down the scope at first, and then if I'm still doing this long enough, expand from there. Divide and conquer, if that's even possible for this series. The best place to start cutting through this enormous list of characters is the G1 cast of characters, beginning with the ones that appear in Season 1. Then we'll do Season 2, the 86 movie, Seasons 3 and 4, and then decide where we go from there. However, I will be choosing figures from all different continuities, so there's no limits as to where I pull the toys from. Like, we are not just choosing Chug figures, we could dabble in animated, Prime, the Armada trilogy, and etc. Not only is this a great opportunity for me to build out my Transformers collection, but it's also a chance to go through the history of Transformers toy lines and see what's good, what's bad, mediocre, and maybe even underrated. So G1 is the North Star to guide us, and we will start our maiden voyage on the Ark covering the characters that appear in the very first episode of Transformers ever, More Than Meets the Eye, Part 1. We're going to spend a ton of time here in this first episode as it introduces a whopping 20 characters, and that's only ones that have speaking roles. More Than Meets the Eye Part 2 and 3 introduces more Cybertronians, and the rest of the 14 episode season will introduce even more iconic characters like Grimlock, Devastator, the Insecticons, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. The first character and the toy we need to showcase right now is the most well-known Transformer of all time. The leader of the Autobots with many iterations and figures that could have taken this spot. Literally 40 years of the fearless leader. Optimus Prime is up first, and even though I've only started collecting seriously this year, I have a good amount of Optimus Primes already in my collection. With so many to choose from, I decided to focus on the one that impressed me the most when I got it in my hands. The figure is from the recent War for Cybertron trilogy toy line, and it's leader class EARTHRISE Optimus Prime, or Kingdoms if you have the package refresh. Not to be confused with the War for Cybertron game, in which, stay tuned, this War for Cybertron is the 3-part Netflix series and Generations toy line that gave us a bunch of new toys for a lot of the older Generation 1 designs, skirting the line between faithful and coming up with its own Siege/EARTHRISE aesthetic. Optimus Prime received a toy for Siege that represents his Cybertronian truck form. Then Hasbro released another Optimus for EARTHRISE, and this version harkened back to his classic Earth mode look. And it came with a trailer. Oh yes, it came with a trailer. Yeah, I can't help being enamored with this figure. It looks quintessentially G1 Optimus Prime, from the robot mode down to the alt mode. This is a great toy in my opinion, only usurped by the recently released Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus, and a few iconic releases from the past. Pound for pound, this is a great Optimus figure at the price point it was sold at, and while not completely perfect, I'm glad this toy found its way into my collection. I have a lot to say, so let's start with the robot mode. Transformers! Like I said, this is unmistakably Optimus Prime. Look at this beautifully detailed, beautifully painted, and beautifully sculpted figure. Now I have to say up front that the Siege Optimus walked so this EARTHRISE version can run. There are reused parts and retooling from the Siege mold, and why not when that figure was already pretty great? Let's start with the head sculpt, which you can pick out in a crowd very easily. You can't get more fearless leader than this, with the mouth plate, the crest on the head, and the double side stalks. The eyes are sunken into the head and kind of get lost when you look at the figure from afar, but get close enough and you'll see those pearly blue eyes. No light piping though, which might have been a good idea here. Just an observation, but there are two different paint apps on the head. You have the hue of royal blue that you find on the legs for the front of the head, and then on the back you get the shimmery blue they used for the hands and the bottom of the codpiece. Don't know why they went with this, but I kind of like it. Going down to the torso, you have the blue tinted windows for truck mode, which looks nice, connected to a faux part for the lower part of the torso that hides away during transformation. Listen, I am going to have a lot of fights with people about the topic of faux parts. I just don't understand what the big hoopla is if the result is going to look this good. If the ends justify the means and we get a great look for robot mode, I don't have a problem with it. The back is looking very clean for an Optimus figure. This is often a spot where a lot of Optimus toys hide parts of the truck, but they are only hiding one part of it around the waist this time. The front tires and the grille fold nicely into the back and practically hide from sight when looking at him from the front or sides. It's a super clever way to tuck it away, and I've got a lot more to say on it later. Arms look awesome with the Autobot insignia on the left shoulder. I mentioned the hands being that nice shimmery blue, but another thing to note is that the fingers articulate, which is very nice for posing. This Optimus has legs for days and is a standout feature here. Probably piss a few people off, but I like it. They look awesome back to front with the color mix of gray and blue, no hollow cavities, the wheels chilling on the sides, and the heel spurs giving Optimus good stability no matter how you pose him. Design-wise, they cooked with barbecue sauce when they engineered this, and that extends to the siege mold as well. But the piece de resistance of the robot mode is if you open up the two chest panels, you will find a matrix of leadership sitting inside. Wonderful. Now it's pretty small and my fat fingers have trouble trying to pull it out, but it does come out and you can see the spark inside of the transparent blue. You can get Optimus to pose with the Matrix in its hands, although it's a bit awkward. The chest is definitely too big to be able to hold it with both hands in front of him, but OP can hold it above his head, and thanks to the articulating fingers, it makes it easier to grasp the small accessory and position it in a more favorable pose. The Matrix of Leadership was an important item in the Netflix show, so it makes sense that they would include it here, and I am thankful they did. More playability is always better, even though it's a bit small and could be lost easily if you're not careful, which if I lose this, ooh, that's gonna set me off big time. You also have a foldable ion blaster weapon to equip, and it's a nice fierce looking weapon. You have a handle to hold it in the hand, and a separate peg where you can place it on numerous peg holes all over the robot mode. If you place it on the arm, the weapon looks big enough to kind of mimic Megatron's cannon, which can make for some fun scenes. The peg hole on the back can store the weapon, as you can fold up the weapon and peg it on the back in two different ways. Great to have, although you'll see later that there's better places for weapon storage. We are spending a lot of time here on the robot mode, but honestly there's a lot to love about this toy. Articulation is one of them. Head can nod, tilt, spin 360 thanks to it being on a ball joint. Shoulders are on a hinge joint so they can go full T-pose. They can spin 360 degrees, and the only time they can't is when the smokestacks on the arms clip the chest while T-posing. But otherwise you can rotate it in the other direction just fine. You have a bicep swivel and 90-degree elbows, so that's good. Thanks to the transformation, you can tilt the shoulders back for some interesting poses. Combined with the fingers, you can create some come and get me or I just got blasted kind of poses, which is fun. The hands also have wrist rotation as well. The waist articulation can go 360, but it's impeded by the front grille that folds up on the back. You can either unfold the assembly and flip it down, or even better, just take the whole thing right off. It's designed to do that, so don't worry, and it will leave this gray part on his ass, but now you have full 360 degrees of motion. Legs can shoot out 90 degrees and then go backwards to the point where you hit the gray piece on his shiny metal ass. They also fully hinge outwards to do the splits, and the legs swivel 360 degrees for full motion. Knees articulate well past 90 degrees, which is awesome, and the ankle pivots inwards up to 90 degrees. You can do full-on yoga poses with this figure, and I'm just so impressed by that. I come from the Beast Wars era where we all had ball joints for good posing, but this is just on another level. Now, EARTHRISE Prime is considered leader class despite being Voyager sized, but there's a reason for that and I already mentioned it. This Optimus toy comes with a trailer, and that gives this figure a ton of replayability. You can open up the trailer and see tons of detailing with circuitry lines and panels. You also have a foldable weapon here that doubles as an artillery cannon and a repair bot. Harkening back to the old days, you can use the trailer even as a battle platform. There are some pieces at the base of the cannon that line up perfectly with the grooves in Prime's feet so he can stand there without being pushed off the platform when you bump the trailer. This is a really nice touch. However, I think Optimus is a bit too big for the size of the trailer you get, and it looks more natural when you pair up a deluxe or core class figure and the cannon. It just looks more fitting. Now, as nice as it is to have the trailer open up like this, they definitely skimped on the paint app for the inside of it. You get the stripe of dark gray for the middle and bottom of the trailer floor, and everything else is just light gray. Even the cannon is made of those two colors as well. I can see a ton of people who like to customize their figures by applying some paint, stickers, or maybe even repro labels to this thing because it's dull. I don't think the SS86 Prime trailer does it much better either, so you have the opportunity to find ways to pimp it out if that's your thing. Oh, and one more negative I have with the trailer as I wish it was bigger. You're not going to be able to store any figures from the War for Cybertron toy line in the trailer unless you're a Micromaster or Cliff Jumper. Apparently he fits. Now, I'm not trying to shove Megatron in there, but it would be nice to have some deluxes fit inside, like maybe Siege Prowl or similar toys. I can't even fit my Gamer Edition Bumblebee, which is pretty small, and SS86 Jazz just doesn't fit either. It was close, but it didn't fit. If you have some G1 mini-bots, certainly they're gonna fit in there, but it's a missed opportunity. And yes, I know, if they made the trailer wider, they would have to make the alt mode wider, or else the two components would not be properly in scale. It's a bit of a bummer, but they did fix this with the SS86 Commander Class Optimus, where the figure and trailer got to be bigger. The cannon does unpeg from the trailer, so you can mount it on Optimus himself, preferably on the back peg as he gets an auto artillery cannon, but really you can peg it anywhere you like, so long as there's a peg hole there. You can also detach the back door of the trailer and it becomes a shield. You can mount on his arm, you can mount anywhere. It's pretty small for such a big figure, but still cool. We don't get too many toys with shields these days, and I think it's fun for people who play with their toys. One very handy feature is the amazing weapon storage. You'll find 8 peg holes inside the trailer where you can store Optimus's Ion Blaster and any other weapons you have inside the trailer. This is excellent for display purposes, as you can get rid of the weapons from other figures' hands or top of the alt mode and just put them in here. Granted, you're gonna have to place some Tetris here to fit everything and fold it up if that's what you want to do. The pegs are staggered, so it helps to fit them in better. What's cool is the trailer can also stand up, so you can use it as a weapon depot for your figures to grab their weapons, restock ammo, and use it as a medical bay. You can stand them up inside the bay and use the cannon as the repair unit, and Optimus himself has holes on the bottom of his feet that can peg into the trailer door to keep him more stable. As if this trailer already didn't do enough, this last feature is one of my faves. You can bring the trailer back down and lie toys on top of it like a proper repair bay for some amazing poses. Optimus fits perfectly in it, and he's Voyager dimensions, so maybe you can get away with a leader size figure to fit in it. So this trailer already does so much for the replayability factor of this toy and even the other toys in your collection. But am I asking for more soup like Oliver Twist if I wanted the trailer to come with a roller figure? The SS86 OP has it, but I wish it was here too. I don't think we would have broken the budget bank to accommodate one with it, but I guess I'm going to have to look into getting one third party, or maybe having someone 3D print a roller for me. That would be cool. Alright, all of that was for the robot mode and what you can do with it, but now it's time to transform and roll out. The transformation for this figure is so good. It has hints of the tried and true G1 figure transformation with the way the arms fold into the body, but it's way more intricate and satisfying to pull off. I'll just grab this toy from its place on the shelf and convert it back and forth. I love how all the panels that make the front of the truck just fold out of the chest and the faux chest gets hidden away. You don't have to worry about forcing tabs to lock in between parts. There's no tolerance issues to speak of. Everything hides away nice and clean with no robot kibble. It's just brilliant, and it forms into a beautiful rendition of the Freightliner truck. And going backwards from alt mode to robot is just as nice, as you fold the tabs into the chest and snap everything together in the most satisfying of ways. One thing I often forget to do is pull out the truck barrels between the wheels for a more authentic look. The reason why is because when you pull them out, they don't click into place and you might accidentally push them back into the leg later. They also leave gaps under the figure, so I think the truck mode looks fine with them pushed in, and I just don't bother to take them out. I also often mistransform the figure, as you're supposed to fold these two parts on the legs so that the cab gets tabbed into the legs, preventing the waist joints from moving around and it sits perfectly straight. Instead, I just skip this step because I find that once you have the front wheels tabbed in, it just keeps everything all tight and together, leaving this step completely unnecessary. Now that we have the cab truck transformed, we are just missing one more thing. Disengage the stand and place the peg at the front of the trailer in the hole on the back of the cab. Now we have EARTHRISE Optimus Prime in his alt mode, and wow, it looks well proportioned all together and everything just looks beautiful. While the paint application on the trailer looks like it has less attention, it still looks great with the double blue stripes and the Autobot symbol. The rest is gray plastic, but the line pattern on the side perfectly complements the red highlights added to it. So the combination of a flawlessly painted cab truck with the trailer that looks pretty alright works well together, including proportionally where the trailer is just a tad wider than the truck itself. I was complaining earlier about it needing to be wider, but it really would have looked out of scale if they did do that. Small nitpick I have with the wheels though, the front two wheels are pinned on, which is great, that's what we want, but the rest of them are pegged on, so sometimes those peg wheels don't roll properly. It doesn't have major problems rolling when you play with it, but it's definitely a place where they saved on some budget and I noticed it right away. Like robot mode, you can store the blaster on the back when you have the trailer attached, and the rifle does not impede its movement and turning radius at all, which is great. Thanks to the trailer hitch just sitting in a circular hole, you have lots of freedom to make turns naturally, and the trailer will follow in that direction. A lot of Optimus Primes, or let's say Ultra Magnuses and Rodimus Primes, have the trailer locked in, so it's nice to have the trailer designed this way so you don't have to turn the whole figure, it just turns by itself. Overall, this alt mode is great whether you want to display just the truck section, or if you have the shelf space, display it with the trailer hitched on. It looks great beside many of his Autobot companions, and whether they are Core Class, Deluxe, or Voyager, they will scale nicely beside the full trailer setup. So that's War for Cybertron, EARTHRISE Optimus Prime, and we spent a considerable amount of time covering it. Longer than I thought this first maiden episode was going to be, but I'm just so enamored with the figure and what it does so well. With the way the figure articulates and transforms so cleanly with very little kibble, it puts into perspective how far Hasbro and Takara have come with Transformers engineering and design. It's not masterpiece level because you can clearly see the spots where they took shortcuts for budget reasons, but it's almost like a mini masterpiece, let's say. I know I'm smitten by it, and there's a better version of this on the market right now, but I have to rate this toy a 5 out of 5 stars. I have to, it's just so good. If you have the dough to spend for the 86 Commander class version and you can find one, I say buy that version. But I got my EARTHRISE OP on the aftermarket loose and complete for $50 Canadian, which is about $35 USD. It retailed here for about $70, so I think I got a pretty damn good deal. At the time of making this episode, the Commander Optimus Prime is a whopping $126.99 Canadian at GameStop. Oh, and it's sold out. On Facebook Marketplace, the toy is being scalped, and I've seen it popped up there for even higher than $200. So if you're getting outpriced, or you just can't find the damn thing, the EARTHRISE version is a great pickup for the price point. A no-brainer in my opinion. And I just didn't get lucky with that $50 Canadian, as I've seen it available on Facebook Marketplace and other places like Kijiji a few times. I've seen it at 60, I've seen it at 70, maybe 80 is kind of pushing it past MSRP, which I don't recommend, but you can still find it at a pretty good price. Never say never, because I'm like a raven with shiny things, but if I never get another G1 inspired Chug Optimus Prime in my collection, I think I'll be fine. I won't be missing anything. I love this figure that much, and I'm impressed by it for the value it offers at the price point I got it for. So much playability that eclipses a lot of toys I got as a kid, and I grew up during the Beast Wars and Armada Trilogy eras where every toy had some kind of wacky gimmick or feature. Not every episode of this show is going to have a slam dunk home run toy like this one being featured, but to start with one where I gave my highest praise is really nice and a good cadence. Get this in your collection if you don't have the 86 Optimus already, or get it anyways. And with that said, our first episode of Till All Are Done is done. We still have so much work to do, it's crazy. If we covered the leader of the Autobots first, I think we have to cover a certain leader of the Decepticons next. So subscribing is the best way to keep up with this series, and hitting the notification bell helps to let you know when the next character will be showcased. I will be making a playlist for all the videos, so that will be a great place to watch them all. I have pre-bought all the toys for this first season in anticipation of making this series, but that doesn't mean I can't be persuaded if you make a good case for a certain character and their toy. So sound off in the comments section all you like. Until then, thanks for stopping by the JR Magnus channel, and peace out.